So, if I have an inconvenience or even feel like I am and I speak on it before I get to it or even coming down close to it, or if you feel like you can help the inconvenience more to help yourself, then do that. Don't come for me and call me unprofessional and try to make it seem like I'm really unprofessional and make statuses and subliminal posts and all this other shit. First off, if things happen, speaking on Jazz, because this is not going to be a sneak diss or anything like that. That's my baby. But because I wasn't able to do something, I'm unprofessional. And the way that I got a message I did not like. So now I got to make this a public service announcement so this will never be a problem again.
On a quiet evening in Wyoming, Michigan, at 6:22 p.m., a woman ran for her life. She was barefoot, she was unarmed, and she was being chased down the street by her neighbor, a man carrying a loaded gun. In just under 90 seconds, it was all over. 3 shots fired, 1 life lost, and the killer walked back home like nothing had happened. The victim's name was Kanivia Howard-Browley. This wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a random act. It was the end result of a neighborhood argument that escalated far beyond words. An argument that could have ended in silence, but instead ended in gunfire. There were no warning shots, no second chances. Surveillance footage would later reveal the entire chase, from the moment she ran to the second her body hit the ground. She was shot by Anthony Lamar Buxton, her next-door neighbor. What exactly sparked this deadly confrontation? Was it planned, or did something snap? More importantly, how does a disagreement between neighbors turn into a murder scene? In this video, we'll break down what happened that day, what the cameras caught, what the court decided, and what this case says about everyday conflict when it's ignored, underestimated, and ultimately pushed too far. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now let's dive in. Kanivia Howard-Browley was a 25-year-old woman raised in the city of Wyoming, Michigan. She attended local schools and, according to academic records, she was a high-performing student. She graduated from high school with a 4.0 grade point average, indicating consistent excellence across all her subjects throughout her secondary education. There are no public records indicating that she pursued college after high school, but her academic achievements position her as someone who could have excelled in a wide range of professional or academic paths. Instead of taking a traditional route through college or university, Kanivia pursued a path in small business. She specialized in the beauty industry, focusing on eyelash extensions and hairstyling. She became the owner and operator of her own business, serving clients in her local community. Owning a personal service-based business requires a variety of skills. These include customer service, time management, technical proficiency in the trade, and the ability to attract and retain clients. Running such a business also suggests that she had obtained any necessary certifications or training for operating in the cosmetology field, although this has not been independently confirmed through licensing records. Eyewitness accounts and public statements by her clients and friends describe her as highly skilled in her field. She reportedly maintained a steady stream of clientele and operated on appointment-based services, which indicates that her business had consistent demand. At the time of her death in 2024, she was also the mother of a 4-year-old son. While details about the father of the child or her broader family structure are not publicly disclosed, it is confirmed that she was a full-time caregiver and played an active role in her son's life. Photographs and social media records from her accounts suggest that her son was a central part of her daily life. She frequently posted content that showed them spending time together, which affirms that motherhood was a key component of her identity. Across public comments from friends, clients, and acquaintances, Kanivia was consistently described using words like smart, ambitious, sweet, and outgoing. These descriptors, while subjective, paint a consistent picture from multiple sources, indicating that her personality was regarded positively by a wide circle. Anthony Lamar Buxton lived in Wyoming, Michigan, in the same residential area as Kanivia Howard-Browley. Specifically, he resided on Bluebird Drive, the exact street where the shooting occurred. This wasn't an unfamiliar setting. This was his own home turf. He knew the neighborhood. He knew his neighbors. And they knew him. From all public accounts, Buxton wasn't someone new to the area. This was not a case of a short-term renter or someone passing through. He had a known presence in the community. According to available public records, Anthony Buxton had no major prior criminal convictions before the shooting. This point is significant because it suggests that, at least legally, he didn't have a violent or criminal background. There were no widely reported felony arrests, no known charges of assault, battery, or harassment on record. That said, it's worth noting that a clean record does not equal a clean conscience. The absence of a criminal record doesn't always reflect a person's behavior or mindset behind closed doors. It simply means there was no official documentation of criminal activity. Until now, before the events of September 8, 2024, Buxton was not widely known to law enforcement or the media. He wasn't listed as a community leader, but he also wasn't labeled as a troublemaker. From all external views, he appeared to live a relatively low-profile life. However, neighbors and individuals familiar with both Kanivia and Buxton have noted there had been ongoing tension between the two. While the details of these conflicts were not always made public, it's clear that this wasn't the first time words were exchanged between them. Police had reportedly been called before, though there were no arrests related to those interactions. This paints a picture of a man who may have been agitated, short-tempered, or easily drawn into disputes, but not officially labeled as dangerous until that deadly escalation. On the afternoon of September 8, 2024, a fatal confrontation unfolded on Bluebird Drive in Wyoming, Michigan, resulting in the death of Kanivia Howard-Browley. The sequence of events was captured on surveillance footage and confirmed by court testimony and police investigation. The incident began as a verbal argument between Kanivia and her neighbor, Anthony Lamar Buxton, outside their residences. While the specific origin of the dispute was not publicly detailed by investigators, multiple sources confirmed that the confrontation quickly escalated from a verbal exchange into a deadly encounter. Kanivia reportedly stepped outside her home during or just before the confrontation began. Eyewitness accounts and camera footage indicate that the argument became increasingly heated. Both individuals exchanged words near the front of their homes, but the tone and volume of the exchange grew intense. At this point, the situation turned from a verbal altercation into a physical threat. As Kanivia attempted to walk away from the dispute, Buxton began pursuing her down the street. Video surveillance clearly shows Buxton advancing aggressively behind Kanivia, who appeared to be moving away, not confronting him. There were no reported weapons in her possession. She was not shown making any physical threats toward him. Without further warning, and still in broad daylight, Buxton raised a firearm and opened fire. He discharged the weapon 3 times, striking Kanivia as she tried to flee. All 3 bullets hit her, causing fatal injuries. Emergency responders arrived shortly afterward, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. Surveillance video from a nearby home not only captured the shooting, but also recorded Buxton continuing to display the weapon after Kanivia had collapsed. He was seen turning the firearm toward a second woman who had been nearby during the confrontation. This individual was not physically harmed, but later testified in court about the threat. Buxton was also armed. The fact that he owned a firearm and used in the heat of an argument raises further questions about his judgment, emotional control, and overall temperament. Did he always carry a weapon, or did he retrieve it in a fit of rage? Those questions are still under review, but they point to a key shift from verbal hostility to physical violence. Law enforcement responded quickly. After reviewing surveillance footage and interviewing witnesses, authorities arrested Buxton and charged him with multiple offenses. These included second-degree murder, felony firearm use, and assault with dangerous weapon related to the second woman. After the fatal shooting of Kanivia Howard-Browley, authorities wasted no time in launching a criminal investigation. Within days of the incident, police arrested the suspect, Anthony Lamar Buxton, the neighbor who had been identified on video chasing and shooting Kanivia on Bluebird Drive. The video surveillance evidence became a crucial element in the case. It reportedly captured the full sequence: Buxton arguing with Kanivia, pulling out a firearm, pursuing her down the street, and firing 3 shots. It also showed him pointing the same weapon at another woman who was present during or shortly after shooting. This footage played a central role in building the prosecution's case. Buxton was officially charged with second-degree murder. According to Michigan state law, second-degree murder refers to an intentional killing that is not premeditated or planned, but is committed with malice aforethought. In other words, prosecutors argued that Buxton made a conscious decision to kill Kanivia in the heat of the moment, without pre-planning but with clear intent. Along with a murder charge, Buxton was also charged with felony firearm use, a charge that applies when a person uses a firearm during the commission of a felony offense. This added weight to the prosecution's case, as it directly connected his use of a weapon to the homicide. In the following months, both the defense and prosecution prepared for trial. The prosecution relied heavily on the video footage, witness testimony, and forensic evidence, including ballistics. The defense, meanwhile, focused on raising doubt about Buxton's intent and attempted to frame the incident as a possible act of provocation or heat-of-the-moment reaction, rather than malicious murder. The case proceeded to trial in May 2025, held in Kent County Circuit Court. The jury was presented with detailed accounts of what transpired during the shooting. Prosecutors laid out the sequence of events: the argument, the escalation, the chase, the shots fired, and the threat posed to the second individual. They emphasized that Buxton had multiple chances to walk away, de-escalate, or seek help, but instead chose to pursue and shoot an unarmed woman running away from him. This behavior, prosecutors argued, eliminated the possibility that the act was in self-defense or the result of uncontrollable emotion. The defense team attempted to argue that the incident was not premeditated and that Buxton was not capable of forming the specific intent required for a murder conviction. They suggested that the altercation escalated quickly and that Buxton reacted in the moment. After reviewing all the evidence, the jury deliberated and returned a verdict in May 2025. They found Anthony Buxton guilty of second-degree murder and felony use of firearm. The conviction confirmed the jury's agreement that the killing was intentional and unlawful, though not premeditated. It also validated that Buxton knowingly used a firearm while committing the murder. However, the jury did not convict him on the charge of assaulting or threatening the second woman, despite the video showing Buxton pointing a gun in her direction. The decision suggests that the jury either found insufficient evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Buxton intended to harm her, or that the moment was too brief or ambiguous to meet the threshold for a criminal conviction on that specific count. As a result of convictions, Buxton now faces up to life in prison. Under Michigan law, second-degree murder carries a maximum sentence of life or any term of years, meaning the judge has discretion to impose a life sentence or set a defined period of incarceration. The firearm charge adds a mandatory minimum of 2 years, which must be served consecutively to any other sentence. The sentencing phase is expected to take place in the weeks following the conviction. During this phase, the court will hear victim impact statements, arguments from both legal teams, and potentially testimony from Buxton himself. The judge will then determine the final sentence based on factors such as the severity of the crime, Buxton's criminal history, and recommendations from probation officials. People who lived nearby reported hearing yelling, followed by the sound of gunshots. One resident who spoke to local news described the scene as chaotic and terrifying. Several neighbors watched the altercation unfold from their windows, but were unable to intervene in time. Some immediately called 911, while others rushed outside once the gunfire stopped. Law enforcement quickly arrived on the scene. The area was cordoned off, and an investigation began immediately. Police canvassed the neighborhood, looking for additional witnesses and surveillance footage. As the details of the shooting spread, a wave of shock and anger swept through the community. Many could not understand how an argument between neighbors had turned into a deadly pursuit. Several community members stated that they had seen both Kanivia and Buxton around the neighborhood, but had never expected something like this to happen. Within hours of the incident, the news had reached social media platforms. Local Facebook groups and neighborhood forums filled with messages of disbelief, condolences, and concern for Kanivia's young son. Residents questioned whether warning signs had been missed. They also began raising broader concerns about public safety, conflict resolution, and gun violence. At the same time, Kanivia's family began releasing statements and tributes that painted a clearer picture of who she was. Her sister, in an interview with Fox 17, described Kanivia as the sweetest person you could ever meet. She emphasized that Kanivia was not only a loving daughter and sister, but also a responsible and focused woman. According to family members, Kanivia had built her brand from the ground up. She balanced being a young entrepreneur with being a full-time mother. Her relatives spoke about how she worked hard, avoided conflict, and stayed focused on building a better life for herself and her son. They also made it clear that she had plans for the future, goals she was actively pursuing before her life was cut short. In the days following her death, a GoFundMe page was launched to support funeral costs and provide financial assistance for her 4-year-old son. The campaign received significant support from friends, extended family, and community members who wanted to help in any way they could. A vigil was later held in Kanivia's honor. Community members lit candles, shared stories, and called for justice. At the event, several speakers called on local officials and law enforcement to do more to prevent violence in residential neighborhoods. But for Kanivia's immediate family, the most pressing concern was her son. At just 4 years old, he lost the most important figure in his life. Relatives have stated that he was present in the area when the shooting occurred, though it's unclear how much he witnessed. What is certain is that he will now grow up without his mother. In interviews, family members explained that Kanivia was his primary caregiver and emotional anchor. Her sister mentioned that she had always prioritized her son's well-being and was determined to provide a stable future for him. Since the shooting, her family has taken on the responsibility of raising him. They are now navigating the challenge of caring for a grieving child, while dealing with their own loss and the legal process that followed. The tragedy has left many asking serious questions. How can communities better mediate neighbor disputes before they turn violent? Are people doing enough to report signs of hostility or instability in their neighborhoods? And most importantly, how can more lives like Kanivia's be protected from senseless violence? Though Anthony Buxton was eventually convicted of second-degree murder and firearm possession in May 2025, the damage had already been done. Kanivia Howard-Browley is gone. Her son is left without a mother, and an entire neighborhood continues to grapple with the aftermath of what happened on that quiet September day. If the story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.